Okay, since Pastor Bob is not here, I have the pleasure of introducing Jesse. And I think it is Jesse Edgington, right?
It is.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it always comes out Jesse
Edgerton.
Eddington.
Oh, Eddington.
Yeah.
We got all kinds of those, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is Jesse. Most of you know him as because you've been there, either the community market, you've been involved with jet fuel, and where is Mary?
I haven't seen her.
Want me to go hunt her down?
Mary's on her way.
No, okay.
She had her time.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
And
she was, I think, doing dishes.
okay.
I think I saw her doing,
She was going to help, yeah.
Okay.
coffee.
Oh, coffee.
So anyway, Jesse is going to expound a little bit more on Merrick, and, you know, we do the jet fuel and we do the community market, and I think it's always amazing how we can keep our jet fuel tax between $6 and $7, even with the rising cost. I mean, you know what it's like when you go to the grocery store and buy something. And so Jesse is the logistic coordinator, and he does do all of our orders for both the jet fuel and the community market. So, and always looking for good deals, and how he does it, I don't know, but it happens. So I will let Jesse get the floor.
Yeah. Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you so much. I was I'm blown away by all of you at this the degree to which you're involved in the neighborhood with your neighbors and the children and families is pretty astounding. I feel like per capita you're probably the most helpful group of people that I know.
We have a lot of good leaders.
Yeah, so are all of you familiar with jet fuel? Community market?
I'm not familiar with the jet fuel so much. I know
Okay.
that you fill the back tax every week, but I've not been involved in that.
We've got a job for you.
Okay.
Well, I'll talk a little bit about that, but first I'm going to talk about Merrick as a whole, and then I'm going to talk about how I got involved here. Oh.
Oh, I bet you know her.
This is my wife, Anna.
Hi.
She came for some support and probably just listened to me.
She never shared you much.
No.
This is your opportunity to be with your husband. This is your opportunity to be with your husband.
Yeah, this is our time together for the week, right?
And she's his hairstylist.
So I'll talk about Merrick. I'll talk about how I got involved at Merrick, and then I think I was going to talk a little bit more about jet fuel and community market and just the food shelf in maybe a little bit more in depth, and then probably ask you to ask me questions. Actually, if you have questions anytime, you can raise your hand or you can just shout it out. If you can't hear me, I can talk louder, whatever.
What did you say?
If you can't hear me, I can always talk louder.
We'll put him right across the table
Yeah.
from you.
You want to sit right here?
Hey, I used to have to do that in school, but I don't think it was because I couldn't hear.
You wouldn't listen.
So Merrick Community Services is an organization based, I think it's always been based on the east side of St. Paul for over 100 years in one form or another. They've moved all over the place. It's had different names. I think in the 70s it took on the name Merrick Community Services, it's named after a woman who either was a part of the organization here in the cities or part of the entity that the agency as it was up here was associated with. Like the Hull House, for example, was an organization that was throughout the whole country. So Merrick Community Services used to be called something like the Christ Child Society, something like that. And I think that was a name given to a number of different branches throughout the country, and there was one up here. So Merrick eventually named themselves after a woman who was either the founder or perhaps maybe the one who was the organizer up here for the organization originally.
How do you spell that word?
Merrick. There's a couple Merricks up here. There's Merrick. I don't know if the other Merrick is, but I've heard Merrick is there is another group called Merrick. Not to be confused with them. Community Services is what we do. So there's a few different branches within the organization. So if you're familiar with our food programming with the food shelf and jet fuel, we also have a Meals on Wheels program. It used to be more of a holistic senior services program where they were doing. They would have senior groups where they would go out in the community and some kind of outreach programming with folks. But by and large, at this point, it's simply a Meals on Wheels program. That if you're not familiar with Meals on Wheels, that's service where volunteers deliver hot meals and sometimes frozen meals to folks who you can pay for it, or there's like insurance or like county assistance for this program. So I would say by and large the majority of people who get these, it basically looks like a TV dinner, and they get these every day delivered to their home by a volunteer, and it's usually seniors living alone, like independent. It's supposed to help people live independently.
And do you do that through one specific location, like Gladstone?
Right. Gladstone is an example of they have a Meals on Wheels program.
Because Pat just signed up for it, and he's getting his first meal this week.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
So Merrick has their own Meals on Wheels outfit with their own.
And it's not Gladstone.
It's not Gladstone. No.
Gustavus.
Yeah.
I know, but so then you actually distribute them from Gustavus.
Distribute them from Gustavus. So
Okay.
Meals on Wheels is actually its own national kind of brand company, and so if you want to have a Meals on Wheels program, you link up somehow with this national brand, and then they help you figure out how to run that, and then you have to also hook up with a caterer. So all of these programs like Gladstone, there's one out of White Bear, there's one in Roseville, there's one, there's just a lot. Maplewood has, North St. Paul has one as well.
And what determines which one you go to?
I think it's
is there
generally
restrictions?
determined by some sort of loose geographic
Okay.
boundaries that there. I think there's somebody in like the Twin Cities has their own like Meals on Wheels office, and so they'll get referrals to that Meals on Wheels, and they'll say, okay, you at Gladstone will be. You're going to get your food from Gladstone.
Well, that's because we called them.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering.
White Bear Lake one.
Debbie does, yeah. And I was wondering if we called Merrick, if they would say, well, no, you can't, because that doesn't live close to
Yeah,
Merrick.
well they since all of the deliveries for Meals on Wheels comes from volunteer help.
Right. Oh.
It's kind of in each program's interest to have people as close as possible so that volunteers aren't having to. They take routes, and so
Yeah.
I know that Merrick, the Merrick's program is largely on the east side and then somewhat into Maplewood, which I think the Maplewood boundary is rather
Big.
it's not and it's
quite unique.
kind of amoebic. Maybe.
Where does the
shape.
food get cooked?
So so all these kinds of programs rely on a central kitchen caterer somewhere. The one that we work with currently is in Minneapolis. So they deliver a couple times a week boxes of different types of food, and every day has a different meal that's associated with it. And Meals on Wheels, because there's other programs like this that aren't called Meals on Wheels that you can get. I think Meals on Wheels stands out in that it's hot they offer hot meals,
Yeah.
warm, hot, I don't know.
So at Merrick, is it somebody cooking it
So what
there?
they get all these meals packed in little trays, and then in the morning they have it's like an oven basically that heats them up to a certain temperature, like 160 degrees, in these warming boxes to keep them warm, and then they deliver them out between like 10 and 1 every day. It's a lot of volunteers it takes.
Yes, oh, yeah.
I mean, I think there's probably 8 or 9 volunteers a day that are involved in that. So 5 days a week, that's like 40. We rely on like 40 volunteers. So it takes a lot of labor. Yeah.
The
Go ahead.
centralized kitchen is actually owned by Meals on Wheels. And it is located in Minneapolis, and it's called the Kitchen of Opportunity. And the menu every month is reviewed by 2 different nutritionists. And so all the meals are diabetic friendly and low sodium, heart healthy. And the Kitchen of Opportunity, what they do is they actually make the meal, let's say on Monday, and then they deliver it out to all the Meals on Wheels sites on Tuesday. And then we heat it up, and Howard volunteers. And on what we do is on Mondays, some people only get delivery once a week, and it's their frozen meals, and that way they can pick and choose whatever dinners they want, and then we pack them all out, and then it's delivered once a week. But then the hot meals, or some people get them delivered just cold, so that they can just heat them up because they like to eat their dinner closer to the evening meal or whatever. And then and those are delivered out Mondays through Fridays.
So the menu is same for all of the locations?
All of Ramsey County
Okay.
is the same. So we've tried to optimize that so that everybody's getting the same thing.
Debbie, will you tell what your duties are and where?
I'm the Meals on Wheels coordinator for the White Bear, Hugo, Vadnais Heights.
Excellent.
I also sit on the menu committee. I've got a nutritionist background. I've also got a kitchen certification background. And I've been doing that for 13 years now.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So, yeah, and I've got over 200 volunteers. I have 2 volunteers that work the kitchen every day, heating up the tray portion, and then they pack out the fruit and the dessert and the bread and the butter and stuff.
Yeah.
And all the meals come with either a juice or a milk. And all the meals come with whatever it is that is going to be needed to eat that meal. Say if it's a fish, then you're going to get the tartar sauce, and if you get a roll, you get butter, things like that.
Yeah.
And on the menus that we do every month, anytime that there's a fish item, we always offer an alternative. So you get like a chicken or something, and that's on the menu. And then we've also, because we've gone with everybody has the same menu, each menu has got 4 different choice meals, I call them.
Right,
So
right.
if you don't want the, chicken Kiev on a certain day, you can call and you say, I would like the beef pot roast instead, choice number 1. So we always have 4 different choice meals.
Yeah.
I have studied that menu. And it's a good menu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty decent menu.
It's good to know that it's low sodium and heart healthy or whatever you said it was.
Yeah, diabetic
This,
friendly.
what we're doing, in my case in particular, I had a major setback, but we're trying to eliminate my labor of going to the grocery store more often, or as usual that I used to do. And we're just gonna do a couple meals a week, but that's gonna really, really help.
The other thing that I do have some clients that, is they might get off the daily menu, but then what I do is they order off of the frozen menu, and that way they have meals just sitting in their freezer. So if they decide, hey, you know what, it's 20 below out for the next 5 days, I'm not going anywhere, and so they've got some meals sitting in the freezer. And what they do, they'll just get like 1 delivery per month, and they'll just pick like 10 meals off of the frozen menu, and we deliver them, and they stay good. And
Yeah.
so that's
Interesting.
that's another option too for you.
It's a great service, and a lot of folks, you know, they get the food and that's all they need or want from the program. But the service also, for some folks, you know, it might be a grandparent or a parent who's living independently somewhere, and there's an interest in having somebody come every day checking in.
That's true.
And just having somebody stop by to drop off that food is also someone, you know, saying hello, making sure everything's okay. There's stories that we have where people have, you know, fallen over the weekend, and it was on Monday the next day, or, you know, Monday after the weekend, that a volunteer came to deliver food, found them,
About
and
an
was able
average
to...
of once per week
Yeah,
that I'm
really.
calling 911.
Jeez.
Wow.
You know, or a family member. And what's really nice is that you have the same volunteer every Tuesday or every Monday or whatever. So they call me and they say, boy, you know what? Willa's blinds are always up. Her paper's always picked up. You know, and her blinds are closed today and she's not answering. So, yeah, I just immediately, you know, call the daughter.
Yeah.
We had one client, it was very cute, she was always falling. And she was instructed that she was supposed to stay in her house. Well, she'd gotten a package delivered on her front step. So what she did was she waited until it was real close to the time that the driver was supposed to be there, and she went out. Well, she bent over and she picked up the package, and then she fell off her step. So there she is laying there when the driver came up. And the driver says, "Did you fall off your step?" And she goes, "Yes." "What were you doing out here?" "I was picking up the package because they left it on the step." And they said, "Well, why would you do that?" And she goes, "Well, I knew that if I fell, you'd be here soon, so you'd help me up." So the driver helped her up, and helped her back in the house and got her packages. But, yeah, we have all kinds of stories.
Yeah. There's a couple other programs that I think, at least when we're talking to folks about what we do in the food shelf, that we don't mention a ton about, but we have employment services and some family services that play a big part in what we do with Merrick, because
Thanks, Debbie.
Yeah,
Thanks.
you're welcome.
Merrick does a lot with, I feel like we serve maybe the highest quantity of people through our food programs, but some of our most, I think it's, some really important work is being done with employment and some of our housing programming that we have, because our biggest goal as an agency is to see people or give them opportunities for independence as much as possible. And for a lot of folks, having a job and having stable housing is key. I mean, it's key. And as an organization, we're finally all under one roof. We used to be in a couple separate locations up until 2017, and having us all together is actually going to help us integrate a lot of what we're doing together. So the food shelf is a point of entry for hundreds of people a month, and if we're able to more effectively screen people for their eligibility for services, that can only help us be more effective in the community. So maybe backing up a little bit, Merrick used to be on Payne Avenue. The main offices were on like Payne and Case, if you're familiar with that cross street. While the food shelf was in a whole other building 6 or 7 minutes away in Woodland Hills Church. In 2017, they renovated a space at Gustavus Adolphus on Arcade, and we all moved into one spot. So everyone's under the same roof, by and large. The food shelf still has another food shelf over at Woodland Hills, but for the most part, our offices are all under one roof, which has put us in a really nice position to be able to integrate more than we had before. So Employment Services currently is offering opportunities for people to be trained in this construction program, and they also offer training for commercial driver's license. And then they do kind of like general job training where they're helping people maybe with their resume or just interview skills, things like that. In the future, I know that the Employment Services is trying to make themselves a little bit more broadly applicable to the community. So instead of just being construction and CDL, they want to be more of like a, I can't remember the right word for it, but I think it's something like an employment agency for multiple jobs. So they want to be they want to be a center for training people in more career paths that are in demand, such as nursing, and I think some data office related jobs come to mind. And so that's kind of where Employment Services is headed. And then Family Services has, by and large, been kind of a catch-all for anybody who's in a family will come to the agency, and it's anything from domestic violence, losing a job and being out of a home, or there's sometimes some mental instability, or people can't pay for rent or utilities. And so currently the Family Services is helping families with all sorts of things, and so it's a lot of case management work, and there's probably, I think we have, I want to say like 6 case managers right now, and then a manager over the whole program, and I think they're finding that being very broadly serving is actually making them less effective, and they're also wanting to focus more on just housing, and they found that they have enough resources within the community, they have access to enough resources in the community where if they can't help them with mental health issues, they have plenty of either other people or places where they can refer people to. So something that I learned when I first started working here, like I was very new to what nonprofits do and what volunteerism even looks like when I first started working with Merrick, and something that I've learned is so much of what is keeping people from getting the independence and the help that they need is accessing resources. Like knowing the phone number to call if your landlord decides to not fix the heat in your house. Like, who do you call? Do you just go to a hotel and then say, I want you to pay for my hotel? Or do you know that there's a place that gives people free legal aid and can help you, like, actually help you know how the law protects you? So there's so much about people's living situations and people's lives. They don't really realize the protections they have or the access to resources that are out there. There's dental clinics, there's health clinics, there's mental health clinics, there are food assistance programs like Food Shelf. There's so many things that I think people have spent huge amount of resources and tax dollars and voting energy on making sure it's in place, but there is the extra step of actually letting people know that they exist and that they can get what they need. So that's kind of what Merrick is doing. Is kind of like we're a hub for resources. Is kind of the biggest I think, the biggest assistance overall that we offer people. Yes.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I mean, even with families that, are intact and there's people, I found out my sister wasn't doing something because she didn't think the Medicare would cover it. So she didn't do some things health-wise that she should have. She's got terminal cancer now, but, well, I couldn't afford to do that, so I didn't do that test or whatever.
Yeah.
Don't you know that there are people that can help with those costs? I don't know who they are, but I'm sure there are some people. And that is a big, huge problem for, especially people that have a lot of pride and they don't want to ask for help at all, that sort of thing.
Me?
Yeah.
Well, there's also can be a language barrier too.
With that too.
Yep.
And I think that's an issue for a lot of things.
Do you, do you publish a booklet like St. Stephen's? It's green, that has resources in it?
I don't think we do. I think we're, each department in Merrick has its own sort of short list of resources that they offer, or that they have access to, but I'm not sure that we have it all compiled into one master copy. No, I don't think so. That's a good question. I have more to say about that, so go ahead.
I was gonna say, last year, I was trying to help a member of our congregation try to find a place to have taxes done free, and I spent a lot of time trying to find a place. And last night I was looking and I found Merrick does.
Yes.
Really?
So yeah, for example, if you didn't know.
Yeah, I actually went through Ramsey County Library.
Okay.
And it ultimately linked me to a list that included Merrick.
My husband used to do that on Payne Avenue somewhere. That he volunteered to do taxes.
Probably at the Merrick Center.
No, it wasn't. It was some financial center on the corner. My son also did it. I don't know if it was just for earlier work.
Well,
or just
the message
taxes in
was,
general.
it's not out there to find easily, because I never found it.
I found out for him, I thought it would be a good thing
Yeah.
for my son for law school to have on his
Oh,
resume.
to volunteer and actually.
Yeah, do that sort of thing. And I found out through Travelers that I was working for at the time. Because I worked in a tax department. Did anybody want to do this? And so I let my husband and son, I said, you two go do that financial stuff together. And
Well,
it was a bonding thing.
Yeah, so they are currently twice a week.
People don't know about these
The
programs.
agency's open, and I could be wrong about this, but I was looking at the pamphlet, and if you're single and make, I think like under $35,000 a year, it might be a little bit less than that, but around $30,000 a year. If you and I were single, like we could go and get free tax help, which is
Or if
so.
you're
I mean,
65.
anybody is valuable, but especially like just to know that that's out there. That's.
Being 65 was one of the criteria, 65 or older.
Oh.
Some of us qualify.
Okay. For this program, for this free taxes. Oh, I didn't realize it was an age related too. Okay.
There were like 3 criteria.
Okay.
The income was one, 65 and older.
Oh, that's one
I
of
can't
the
remember.
one of the.
You could
You only
get
had
some
me
gray
once.
dye for your beard and go in. I'm going to use my cane and you'd be all set.
Well set. No proof needed. Yeah, so we're also kind of a hub for other organizations. Like the free taxes is not something that Merrick, like we don't do it, but we have the facilities and we partner with organizations to partner is like that's a big vocabulary word in the
Seems
slang
like
word.
libraries are doing a lot of stuff.
I wouldn't doubt it.
They do.
Yeah.
There was a long list of places.
Yeah.
And Jesse, sometimes at the food shop, you do have these resources available, and people,
Yep.
there, so that people can come up with that white scoop and just spill your coffee all over your stuff. Okay, which I did. Okay, we're not too excited about that. I didn't know there was coffee left in there.
Often.
Good thing it wasn't much.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, you're right. At the food shelf, we do have kind of a list of some resources available. But yeah, where was I? So, Merrick, as an agency, you know, we have all these different programs, all these different areas where we are, I guess, assisting families and individuals in the community. And right now, we're in the middle of this kind of a really big planning project. And we may all be under the same roof, but it's a whole other thing to actually work synergetically. Man, you wouldn't. We are very. They keep using the word siloed. So we have like employment services, the food stuff, and family services, and everybody's kind of like working in their own little world. You know, and meanwhile we could be. You know, the food shelf could probably be referring so many people to what else we offer, but we haven't organized that. We still have a ways to go before we're organized enough to really be kind of a holistic agency.
Well, that's contradicting what you said earlier. You said that you thought housing was the most, the need was the most, and that you found that it was better to isolate, you know, that.
And so maybe what I was trying to get at with that was that within the family services, they're finding that if they can focus more on housing versus like the whole gamut of needs that a family might have, they're finding that that is sort of like kind of the most important thing that they have the most strongest, I think within the agency, within the program itself, they feel the most strongest within themselves to be able to, as sort of like the angle by which to help families is through housing. So the way Merrick looks at it, you help people with jobs and housing and food, and that's kind of covering a lot of necessities, you know, and if they need something outside of that, we have, you know,
the mental health.
we have people have access to that. So anyway, so that's kind of Merrick, and then my involvement at Merrick, I got into working at Merrick by being interested in food. Food's like a big deal to me. I love cooking.
You're so skinny.
Yeah.
Thin.
Fit.
Lean.
Yeah, I got into working for the food shelf because I love food and I love cooking. I also am really interested in food issues around good food, people getting paid to grow and produce food fairly. So I'm a very avid gardener, and I don't know what you call the word, but I'm
Food geek.
Yeah, what's the word for that when you're no, I'm a hair short of being practically an urban farmer, so I mean that the scale at which I'm interested in actually growing food is on that level. So I used to work for a food co-op in the produce department. I ordered food, you know, was part of marketing, part of all of that, and so the whole ordering and management of food side of things had, you know, a lot of training in that, and so when I came to the food shelf, I definitely offered that part of my skill set, but I left that job because I guess like retail, I do enjoy marketing food and selling food, but I think I got to a point where I've been really sort of challenged by the idea that, you know, the food that we're selling here is being grown very close, but it's only really accessible to a certain types of people who can afford it, and I really feel like good food should be in everybody's hands.
Did you get education in this area, or
No.
did you just learn it on the fly?
I've just like learning on the fly. Yeah, yeah. I have my educational background is in fine art, so.
Well, I'll tell you, at this point, I don't think it'd be helpful, because every time I read a new study, it contradicts another study, and I don't know what to eat anymore. Well, and I love to cook, and my husband does too. Now, he's on a diet that all of a sudden there's no meat, And,
He's always on a diet.
yes.
It'd be helpful to know where the food
But
comes from
it's
that
crazy,
goes
I
to the
just-
food shelf.
Okay. Yeah, well, yeah, so,
Plant-based protein,
I mean,
all that crap.
when I first started working, or before I started working for the food shelf, I was growing, I had, well, Anna and I both had a number of empty lots in Minneapolis and St. Paul that we were using for gardens. And we both have a farming background, somewhat, you more than me, but we just love growing on a scale that is not very, unless you just want to can tomatoes
Right.
for months. But we were growing and interested in growing on a scale that really was not even practical for two people. So, like, you know, I wasn't really ready to sell any of it, but I felt like I want to learn about how to grow all this food, but I just want to find an outlet for it. So, we had gotten connected through Woodland Hills Church to Merrick, and we're on our way in the middle of basically dedicating these garden spaces just to donate, you know, green onions and radishes and lettuce and tomatoes and collard greens for the season when they told me that the position was available for this logistics coordinator. And I was looking to get out of my job that I was in at the co-op, and so it looked like a perfect opportunity to do basically what I was already doing in food, but just do it with more of a mission focused on serving people. I think the co-op is working toward helping people on the production side of the food system, but this is helping people on the receptive side of the food system is something that I was really interested in, like, digging into and learning about. So, yeah, to talk about, like, where all this food's coming from. At the food shelf, it's coming from many, many, many places. One of them would be there are these channels of food that are packaged and ready to look like they're ready to be delivered to any grocery store, but for some reason, through whatever means, Second Harvest Heartland, which is a food bank, kind of like picture, well, they're like the bank, and we're like a little food shelf, like a little place for.
I know that when we were involved at Farm Credit, where I worked, we supported Merrick, and we'd have competitions at work, and who could get the most food and stuff like that. I took a group to the farmers market to teach them how to buy fresh foods and what to do with them, because they had no idea, what do I do with Napa cabbage, you know, or whatever.
Were these coworkers? Or?
We were just volunteers.
Okay.
And, no, they weren't, we were taking a group from Merrick that came to the food shelves. I don't know how they coordinated that.
Oh, interesting.
But then another group would take them over to Second Harvest and teach them how to can those foods.
Wow.
So I'd help them buy the stuff, and then another group would take over, and they'd go to Second Harvest and teach them how to can and
That's
all
very
that
cool.
stuff. Because, yeah, they didn't even know what the vegetables even were. You know, they didn't have any exposure to that.
Yeah.
So that was kind of fun.
Yeah, and currently, I don't think, I mean, that must have
was
been
a long time
some
ago.
time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've been working with them for a long time
That's
through
great.
my company that I work for. So.
Okay. Like, what are the companies? You said
Farm Credit.
Farm
was,
Credit?
Is
that a credit union?
Agribank.
Okay.
Farm Credit.
Yeah.
We kind of followed what we did too. However, we were just the headquarters in St. Paul for any production credit associations and federal land banks and stuff like that. But we had certain babies that Merrick was one of them that we liked to really go all out with. Had a few other, United Way was another one, but yeah, we did that. That was kind of neat, and I really like the fact that Merrick does branch out with, because my whole philosophy on helping people is to help them become independent,
Yeah.
teach them what they need to know, 'cause it sounds like you're getting more into the workforce, like the Ramsey County Workforce Services, where you can go in there and they'll help you with your resume, they'll help you learn Excel and PowerPoint and Word, and
Yeah.
get you exposed to all kinds of skills that are transferable to lots of jobs.
Yeah, I mean, people need.
Can you talk about how people actually get to the food shelf and how they can use that?
Yes.
And get into more detail about
Sure.
that?
Yeah,
please?
yeah, okay. Well, I'll keep talking about where the food's coming from at the same time. So, folks, well, and this might be something that a lot of people don't know about, but basically food shelves are set up to be a completely non-judgmental, welcoming space for anybody who says, for whatever reason, I need some food this week. So, we aren't screening your income, we aren't proving where you live, it's basically, if you come and say you need help, we're like, great, you're welcome to come here. So, that's like, it really is anybody and everybody. It's, not everybody exactly, but I mean, it's families, it's individuals, it's people who are living in a home, are homeless, some people who just need like a little bit of some budget assistance, like having a week's worth of groceries can take off some pressure for paying a utility bill for the month, and so our food shelf, and I think this is pretty common with a lot of food shelves, is we allow folks to visit once a month.
Okay.
And currently, our model that we're using is an appointment-based system, where you can call ahead, or you can call ahead, or in some way schedule an appointment once a month. So we rely on that so that we can keep people from waiting and fighting to be in line. It also just really respects people's time, because they can plan their day, their bus schedule, whatever, to come, and it doesn't take much longer than an hour, probably beginning to end, when they show up. It used to be a lot longer before we went to this model. But we also take people who just walk in and say, I couldn't, no one called me back, or I left a message yesterday and I haven't heard from you, so I just stopped in, and we're like, we usually have plenty of food, plenty of time to fit whoever shows up in. So it's kind of like a hybrid of we try to keep it organized as much as we can, but then understanding that, like, that's not actually, that's too rigid of a system to really hold fast to. We have to be a little flexible about how we handle it. Yeah.
I have a question. Do you have some type of system in regards to inventory on hand, so you're not running out of an item?
Mm-hmm.
And does that correlate with people calling in for a schedule when they're going to be there?
Yeah.
Or what they're going to use?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
What do you do to keep your product there? So when I'm starving to death and I want this item, I want it there. What do you do?
Right. Well, okay. So these food banks, this place like Second Harvest Heartland, is essentially probably our main. Second Harvest is our main source for food, and they can purchase, food in quantities at a rate that is really affordable to us as a food shelf. So we will. Some things that we have are purchased, some things are donated, and some things are it's usually purchased or donated, and it's usually, like, I can go on a list online at Second Harvest, and if I want peanut butter on Monday, I'll order so many cases of peanut butter based on how much I know we use a week. And then there's a whole other side of what we provide that is very random, and it's all based on donations. And Second Harvest is actually a huge there's actually a huge stream of food that comes from Second Harvest is donated from Cub and Costco and Sam's Club and Target and Kowalski's, and that's a program they call Food Rescue. So like a grocery store that has, you know, a case of yogurt that is like either near expiration date or just passed or just for some other reason, like food that's not fit for their shelves. Maybe it's a broken box of cereal. All that stuff gets compiled and put in boxes, and either we, with our staff, or Second Harvest goes to all these different stores who participate in this, and they pick up all the food that they don't want. It's pallets and pallets and pallets. I mean, it's millions of pounds of food that comes to that stream. And so there are some things that as a food shelf we do try to keep on hand. Staples, there's, you know, pasta and rice and oil and milk and eggs. But then there's whole other categories of food that we don't know what we're going to have week in, week out, and it's always interesting and it's always different. And some weeks we have a mountain of yogurt, and some weeks it's a mountain of coffee, and some weeks it's a mountain of cheese. Yeah, it really is different every week. So my job as a logistics coordinator is kind of, I think, just like experiencing that day in, day out, and having a sense for how much of the random stuff and how much of the ordered stuff we need. So I have an inventory system that I use and that I keep track of, and so we have a small budget. That's a weekly budget for the deliveries we get, and then outside of that, we're really depending on this food rescue to kind of like fill in the gaps. And so with that, $1 at a food shelf can get you anywhere from an entire pallet of. I mean, a pallet is, I don't know if you're familiar. When I say a pallet, anyway, this thing that is wooden and maybe 4x4 feet.
Like Menards?
Yeah, you'll see them at Menards or Costco or IKEA. They'll just be a pallet with stacks of whatever product in boxes. So we'll get those sometimes 6 feet high of just produce from Target that they couldn't use anymore. And some of it is legitimately bad stuff. I mean,
Carrots, for example.
Yeah, carrots, for example. But a pallet of whole produce from Second Harvest, they'll charge us 3 cents for that whole pallet just to deliver it. And so when they talk about like your dollars stretch a lot farther in this line of work, we have access to these resources and food streams that a typical person just doesn't have. So another way, I was thinking about this today too, like, you know, that's one example, but another example is $20 will give our food shelf the ability to give everybody a 5-pound sack of potatoes for the week. That's like 160 families if they want. If they want a 5-pound sack of potatoes, $20 will buy everybody that, because it's Second Harvest has access to not just these donations, more of the random food sources. But also, I don't know where exactly they're getting this from, but there's farms and there's produce streams that are dealing with kind of the excess, the surplus in the food system, and they have access to, it depends every week, but usually they have potatoes, for example, and that's something we can carry every week. And then they've also started to do this wonderful program where they call it a case count subscription, where you as a food shelf can sign up for a certain number of varieties, say 6 varieties of fruits and vegetables every week, and you can tell them, I would like 5 cases of each of those varieties. So for another $70, we'll get, we'll get hundreds of pounds of like perfectly good. So this pallet I'm talking about is stuff that's like, they pull it from the shelves, it's no good. A lot of times it's perfectly fine, it's just, they have to pull it for one reason or another, and so probably 30% of that pallet will be garbage, 70% will be good, whereas this produce subscription is almost entirely, probably 10% of it might be garbage, but most of it is like what you would order if you were a retail store. You would get, you get whole cases of apples, whole beautiful cases of oranges, or bananas.
And are you getting that at Merrick, or
Yes.
is Second Harvest getting that?
Well, Second Harvest is sort of they're the middleman.
Headquarters.
They're sort of the headquarters. They're kind
I thought
of
they were the bank.
they are the bank. But it's probably more accurate. They do call themselves a food bank, which doesn't really paint the picture well enough because banks aren't giving people money, are they?
No, that's true. It's an unbank.
Unless you pay them back, right?
Right.
So it's more of a warehouse.
Wow.
It's a distribution. It's distribution warehouse for food shelves.
Which you're part of.
So we order from Second Harvest every week. I order from them twice a week, and that will be some stuff I will purchase and some stuff that will come through this food rescue outlet. So twice a week, 2 trucks come, and some of you, like Sharon or Sylvia, especially, know what it's. I don't know if you've been there when we've had deliveries. But, it'll be, 10, 12 pallets in a room this big, plus shelving, plus 8 people tripping over each other. It's an insane amount of food, and we have a little bit of time to get on the shelf and ready to go for people. But it's remarkable. The food rescue side of it is really cool because, talk about a river of practically free food just always pouring out of just from the sale of food. That to me blows me away. Yeah, to a grocery store, it's food. Working in food, it's all perishable. So you have, especially with produce, it's such a short shelf life. And within the system, take lettuce. Out in the field, they're growing that, and there's so much waste or so much you have to produce in order to have that case of romaine. And for that case of romaine to stay fresh all the way until it's in your refrigerator for a week, it's remarkable that whole system even works.
Well, I live in North Dakota for part of the year, and the grocery store, they didn't even used to have farmers market when I first started. I said, "Where's your farmers market, y'all farmers?" They didn't have any. And so we started farmers markets up, and they're really popular, but we also have the food co-op that people can, I produce berries, so I go out to a co-op where people, if they want berries and might not, I can get them to them. But it's really hard for those grocery stores to have as far as the produce. It has to, if it's lettuce, it has to be in a bag that's sealed because it'll never make it out there from where it's grown. And people don't grow garden things very much there. There's more and more people are now, but mostly it's the newbies, the college students are starting to have gardens now.
So how often do you actually get food to people? Is it on a daily basis they come?
Almost. Merrick is open, we're open 4 days a week. And so, 4 days a week. And we currently have 2 locations. So one location is open for 2 days and one location is open for 2 days. And so every day we see about 40 on average, 40 individuals. So that'd be, each person is shopping for a family of themselves up to, some households have 11, 12, 13 people in them. So it's about 150, people every week that we see, and so it's about, I think the number we usually throw out is 600 families a month, give or take. But if you include what Community Market does and jet fuel, you're looking at closer to 800 that us plus our partnership with all of you is helping reach so many people. And I think someone mentioned something about the stigma of accessing, just people, I think there's a stigma about visiting a food shelf. You can be, I think there's probably some shame about being in that position, but food, Talk about
Some
some,
nice food.
talk about like,
I wanna take it home.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's really remarkable, like, I mean, food is so essential. I mean, it
Well,
is.
you can't live without.
Right. I mean, food is life, so, and I think that for as much respect as I have for the production end of things and for those people to be paid and taken care of, the same goes for everybody who needs it.
Yeah.
It's such a strange system, but like, I don't think people should have to worry about, especially here. I mean, and knowing how much food just like goes straight out the door, out to the landfill.
Well,
Like,
and even.
we're kind of catching it
Yeah,
almost.
but even at your end too, you also throw things away.
We do.
Sure.
I kind of look at us as sort of like the last
It's the last.
last chance.
Yeah.
So it's like you
Yeah.
had your chance on the shelf,
Yeah.
or you know, at the store, and now you have your second chance to get out the door before someone actually calls you trash.
To that degree, then do you help the individuals that come in so they don't throw it away, so they know what to do with it?
Well, someone was talking. You were
Like
talking
meal
about
planning or something
food,
like that.
food knowledge.
Yeah.
And I was just in a meeting this week with Courtney, the old manager of our food shelf, and something that they're really noticing is I mentioned that it's just recently where Second Harvest has begun to be really a big hub for like reduced cost produce, and that was in response to a lot of survey results showing that, you know, people wanted fresh fruits and vegetables, and food shelves by and large up until probably even 5 years ago commonly just didn't worry about fresh food, didn't worry about storing that. It was all just, you know, come for your non-perishables. But they found that like people were really clamoring for that stuff, and that's actually that's some of the most expensive stuff of the grocery store to have enough.
This
Oh,
has
we're
been
running over
great.
time.
Kind of running out of time. I don't know if you have another quick question for Jesse, or I think, because
What one thing would you have changed? What do you see needs to be changed to make your work more effective?
Oh boy. Well, what I was gonna say along those lines is March here is kind of the big month. They call it March Food Drive Month, and that's sort of like a state. I don't know if it's a national effort, but it definitely is a state effort where it's kind of a chance for food shelves to get the word out about what we do and how you can help. It's mostly, they call it food drive, but it's really asking people for money and help in that sense. But really, food shelves cost a little bit of money, but a lot of labor, because the food that we're working with just takes a ton of time to sort through and manage and organize. And I mean, a lot of you are part of community market, and you know how much it takes to set something up very quickly to give away. And so I know all of you are know a lot about this stuff, and so March Food Drive, I mean, the awareness effort that we put out there is probably not for you, but probably for people you know. So talk to people.
a big deal about
Talk to people about
March
it.
food shelf. Nope.
Mention it, just
March.
like, if you got a food shelf in your community, give them $5. Give them $5 and 5 hours of your time.
And please don't give your canned goods that are dated 2004 or 2005,
yeah.
or a half a jar of peanut butter. That goes right.
Sharon would really appreciate that.
All your service is done through donations, all the stuff.
By and large, I mean, we're a nonprofit, so we rely on funding, grants, donations. Yeah. So, thank you. I was really worried that I was gonna still last for an hour, but
I can put it on another hour.
yeah, boy, when you get this guy started. Thank you all for staying
It was
and being
very
here and
informative.
inviting me.
Thank you.